Jade Ocean. Thank you for joining me today. So today we're going to continue to open the hips up. We're going to be working on the glutes. So in the glute region, which is these guys right here, we have the butt. So we have the medius that starts at the top, and then we have the minimus that's in the middle. And then we have the glute maximus, which goes along here. Our sacrum's right here. It's this little triangle bone right down at the very base of our spine. And then it works all the way out and then wraps around. So it also works with the abductors, which are the ones that move and rotate the leg out to the side and away from the body. And then it also does work with the internal rotation. So the rotation, so external rotation, internal rotation. But the primary function of our wonderful glute maximus, which happens to be, you know, the strongest muscle in the entire body. It's a very, very strong area. Is it extends the leg back, so extends it straight back. When you bend the knee, that's working the hamstring, but extending the leg straight back is working our glute maximus. And so what'll happen is this guy is not that strong is a couple things. You'll notice that when you go to do that, so when you lift your leg straight back, for say if you're on all fours and lift your leg straight back, your lower back will start to dip. And you'll know, okay, well my glute's not that strong because my back is now trying to take over brunt of all the load. And so, you know, different reasons happen, or different things happen in life to cause this to be dormant and maybe just not activated or just atrophied in some sense. So these things could be anywhere from just repetitive movement from not activating it, also to maybe overuse of a different area, maybe just super tight hip flexors, which is the front, right? It's the opposite. So it's the hip flexors get really tight and then we end up not using our glutes that much because it's just really, really tight in this front area. So we'll notice things like this, which goes into our pelvis. We have our pelvic tilts, and so we can either tilt backwards, which can mean our glutes are really tight in here and maybe overworked or just really short. And in that sense, we also too need to deep tissue them, roll them out, open them up, right? Just break them down a little bit. And then also too, what happens is when they're really tight, we end up not using them properly as well. And so then other muscles are going to kick in. Or we have what's very common is the forward anterior tilt, and that's when our little hip bones right here just start to point downwards, right? And this big old curve in our lower back and our butt kind of pops out. And that means that they're long, they're not active, they're not strong, they're atrophied, and they need some help. And so what we're gonna do today is go in there and just break them down a little bit. Like I said, we're gonna do the deep myofascial tissue release with our foam roller and then our lacrosse ball, of course, as I always do. And I'll show you a couple ways to do it. And then we're going to hit just a couple stretches that I really like, my favorites, okay, just to open up deep into that area, hitting the PIRIFORMIS, which is deep down inside there, and getting that glute maximus. Also, too, we'll be hitting the side, too, so we'll be getting all of the glute area, but primarily focusing close to the sacrum area, okay? So on that note, because I talk so much, I'll end that, and we're going to go right into our deep tissue and our rolling out and stretching. So please make sure that you guys have a foam roller. Okay, so we're going to start with the foam roller, break things up, just hit that very outer layer of it. Now, the glute maximus is the outermost layer of the glute, and so it's not too hard to get into, although it can be really intense. And so, you know, not that much pressure could seem like so much. So foam roller is just going to break it down a little bit, and then we'll go in there with our nice lacrosse ball and just get really deep down in there. Okay, so make sure you have lacrosse ball. Lacrosse ball, as I say in all my videos, it's that little, it's like a rubber little ball. You can get it at any sporting goods store. It's wonderful because it's not going to slip out. It's really good grip, so it's not going to slip out. It's not going to hurt your skin or anything like that. And then there's a little bit of give, just enough so it's, you know, not hurting you. And then also too, but the right amount of pressure. Okay, so it's going to really get into those areas that we need to break down. Okay, and another thing is I want you guys to have either blocks. So 2 blocks, or you can use a bolster or a rolled up blanket. And this is going to be when we're faced up for your elbows. So make sure you have something that you can prop yourself up on. And then also to be close to, you know, maybe like a stool or a box or a chair or just something you can put your legs, the bottom legs, on top of. So make sure it's about knee height. It's not too high. It could be a little bit lower, but just not too high. Okay, so we're going to use that for the end for a little bit more intense deep tissue rolling. Okay, so grab your stuff. I'll meet you guys in your spot and let's begin to practice. let's go ahead and start with the foam roller. So grab your foam roller, just place it in front of you for now. I'm going to have you, now if you have blocks, you can grab your blocks, or if you have a bolster, grab your bolster or blanket that's rolled up. Just place it right behind you. This is going to be for your elbows to go up on top of. We're going to be facing upwards. So grab your goodies. I'm going to place it right behind me. So if you have blocks, my right block is going to go behind my right hip area. So just maybe right behind my glute, right on the outside of my hip, my glute bone, so my sitting bone, and same thing with the left side. So I'm just going to place it right there. And then when I lean back, they'll be about above my shoulders, okay? And so what I'm going to use these for is propping myself up. Now you can do this a couple ways. I'm going to show you with the prop, and then I'll show you without the prop too, because you don't have to have something. So with my elbows up on this, I'm going to use my elbows to just help hold me up, just so I don't have so much weight on my hands, okay? And so my elbows are pointing back. They're not out to the side. They're directly behind me, right underneath my shoulders, okay? I'm going to place my feet. I'm going to bring my roller towards my butt. I'm going to place my feet. Feet are parallel to each other. Heels are, right now it doesn't really matter, but they're not that far out in front of me because I need to lift my hips up. My elbows are right on the blocks, facing back, and I'm externally rotating my arm. So my triceps are facing back, my biceps are facing forward here, okay? And you can get really deep onto the blocks, that way your forearms on the block, or bolster whatever you have, okay? And so this is one way to do it. Another way to do it, which I'm going to do it this way actually to show you, is using just your hands. When you use your hands, you want to place your hands forward if possible, if they're a little bit externally rotated, so outwards. That's okay too, but preferably try to get them facing forward. We want our elbows to face back. This is going to open up our chest and allow us to protect our upper body, okay? So we're going to open our chest. If we keep it curled in, we're going to do this and then hunch forward, and we're going to create this big like hammock-like in our thoracic spine. So we don't want to do that. And so what I'm going to do is have my hands pointed forward. I'm going to place them right underneath my shoulders as I lean back. Again, my elbows are faced back. I'm externally rotating, so my triceps are facing back. Okay, I'm opening my chest, opening my sternum, so everything here nice and spread out, nice and open. The issue could be that when you do this, you'll want to arch. We don't want to do that because we don't want to hyper arch our lower back. And so what we want to do is open, extend, pull everything away, press your shoulder blades into your back, right, to open everything up. And then exhale, so take a deep inhale to create that length, and then exhale, soften everything into the body and the front body. So we want to firm the ribs, almost like they're hugging in, firming the belly, pulling the belly into towards the spine, and then lifting it up. So what I'm going to do is support our lower back. So really important. I know it's kind of annoying to do all this lining everything up, but it's really important that when we go through all these positions that could be, stretching could be really uncomfortable, especially the deep tissues, myofascial stuff. So what we want to do is make sure that we don't compensate other parts of the body while we are able to stretch and open up our bodies, because it can be really comfortable. We want to ease into it. We want to soften into it. And if we're in a bad posture, once we soften and relax, everything's just going to fall apart, okay? And if we are stiffening up, or it's going to stiffen up, and if we are stiff and we stiffen up when we're too tight and we're really uncomfortable and not safe and stable, then we're never actually going to get that deep tissue that we're looking for, and it kind of becomes this wasted time. And then we're also teaching, the wrong pathway for other muscles, right? And so we don't want to do that. We want to keep a really good alignment. So anyways, I'm going to plant my hands down. You can have your elbows down. I'm just going to press into my palms. Make sure you press evenly into the palms, not just this portion, but into the front as well. Okay. I'm going to lift my hips up, let my foam roller go right onto my bum, so it's right onto that tissue that I feel at the bottom portion. I'm extending my heels out in front of me. My knees are going to come up just a little bit. I'm letting my arms just pull back, right? So I'm not actively pulling, but I'm just letting them extend straight back here, okay? My elbows could be bent here. You could do whatever you want with that if you're not, on something already. And so all I'm going to do is just allow my heels and my hands just to move me up and down here just a little tiny bit, just to allow the foam roller to move just in this inner part, so closest to the midline portion of the glute maximus, okay? So it's moving not over the side yet, right? We're gonna go there, but it's moving just at the very bottom portion. So this would be the very bottom of the glute maximus, okay? And we're just noticing it, just feeling it, just noticing how it feels, where it's at. Take a deep breath in. Remember, filling, pulling all that oxygen into your body, filling up the side ribs, keeping your shoulders down, allowing your neck to find ease here, not letting it just fall back, not letting it fall and crank forward. And then exhale, the ribs and the belly nice and firm, okay? Nice support system. Okay, and so what I'm gonna have you guys do now is pull your heels in just a little bit. We're gonna rotate our knees to the right side, and we're gonna stick with the right side. So I'm gonna do this all on one side, and then we're gonna roll it, we're gonna deep tissue it, we're gonna stretch it, and then you guys can go back, rewind if you want, or do it on your own, and do the other side, okay? So I'm just gonna show you one side. All right, so we're gonna rotate our knees, both of our knees are gonna rotate to the right side, and then we're just going to roll again, now opening that up just a little bit more. So when your knees rotate, make sure that your feet rotate to follow the knees, okay? Really important. And same thing, actually your left leg, you can extend it out to help guide you back and forth. So my right knee and foot are extended out, rotating out to the side, to the right side. And now what I'm doing is just letting this foam roller move now up past where my sacrum is. So it's moving along the side of the sacrum and coming up a little bit higher into this muscle. And then of course, the more you move to the side or the more you open your leg, the more you're gonna feel maybe it's hitting a little bit more surface area of this muscle. Okay, so all I'm doing is just, this is very superficial. I'm just moving it up and down. That's pretty much it. Okay, it's not that hard. So just practicing breathing and relaxing, keeping your form, allowing gravity to allow your body just to sink onto the foam roller, okay? So all I'm doing is just using my heels, bending my knees, just using my heels too, and my palms to move just up and down, okay? Just letting it just open up right now. Okay, I'm gonna come back to the bottom of it. If you need to, if you moved really far back and your hands ended up too far down, you could just walk your hands back or your elbows back a little bit further and getting the bottom portion, okay? Again, we can do the same thing and open both knees up and just hit all that area, just kind of loosen everything up, right? It's the same thing. And then when you do this on the other side, of course, you're gonna do the other way. Your knees are gonna go to the left side, okay? So that's foam roller, okay? With that, that's just to start out, just to open it up. Let me show you a little bit more intense. So same thing, you're gonna be on your hands or your elbows. Plant your left foot on the floor, your left knee is pointed up. I'm gonna lift my right knee into my chest and then just externally rotate the leg, crossing my right ankle over my left thigh and then flexing the foot up, right? Because my knee is bent and I want my foot to point the same direction as my knee. And so I'm keeping my foot flexed, right? Because my foot's not gonna point out there and my knee's gonna point out here, right? That's gonna cause a problem with my knee. And so now what I'm gonna do is lift, I'm gonna roll just a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit more intense. I'm gonna roll a little bit more onto my right side, lifting my left hip up. And again, I'm just gonna roll using my left heel, and you can walk your heel down by using your toes, crawl your heel down, and just same thing, just moving up and down. And this time you can just rotate a little bit further out if you want. Of course, you're gonna get a little bit deeper into the abductor area and the hip, the side hip, but rolling, you'll also get to the outside of the glute maximus. So make sure you get all this area. Just going all the way down. Yep, rolling all the way down. Perfect. And so same thing, you're just rolling up and down, just allowing the foam roller to go deeper with the leg being crossed here, okay? So that's I call that a figure four, like a lopsided, so you're on one side. Figure four would be the leg crossed over the other leg. Foam roller, okay? And we're facing upwards. All right, so let's ditch the foam roller. We're done with this guy. I'm gonna put this guy off to the side, and then we're gonna come into lacrosse world, okay? So grab your lacrosse ball, grab your blanket or towel or whatever you have, and we're gonna use this guy to place underneath the foam roller just to allow a little bit of cushion, because the foam roller could be really intense. So if you know this is a really tight area for you, you know, you work it out a lot or you just sit a lot and you just don't activate a lot, it's probably going to be really intense. And so what I would do is grab a blanket, and what the blanket does is, like I said, it allows a little bit of cushion, so you can fold it a bunch of times or just one time, a couple times, just see what works for you. Okay, so I'm going to place it, I'm going to do a little fold here, I'm going to use my blanket, I'm going to place my I'm going to place my lacrosse ball on the blanket, and then actually this time I'm going to lay all the way down. So I'm going to come all the way down with this. And you could do it the same way. We could do this sitting up, but we're going to give our arms just a little break here because it's just, we've been on it for a long time. So let's go ahead and lay down all the way down. And so anytime we come into this laying down position, your little lacrosse ball could just be on the blanket right in front of your bum. And so, and you're in this position when you're suped or laying down supine. Tuck the shoulder blades, right? We want the shoulders to be nice and flat on the floor. And then take a deep breath, draw the shoulders down, elongate through the top of the head, okay, creating space in the neck, nice and equal, so you're not cranked to one side or forward or back or anything like that. Draw the shoulders down, let them be open, nice and wide. You can have your hands out to the side, or you can place it palms down, so whatever works for you. My triceps are, you know, against the floor, supporting on the floor, and I'm pressing my shoulders, the back of my shoulders and my shoulder blades into the floor, okay? I take a deep breath again, and then soften the ribs into my body, so I'm not hyper arching my lower back, okay? So it's just creating, I'm pulling my tailbone down, just aligning myself right now, okay? And then next what I'm gonna do is just pull the blankets. I'm pressing with my heels, lifting my hips up, and then just pulling the blanket. I'm gonna place the ball right under my right glute. All right, and then we're just gonna let your hip just fall onto the ball. And what you could do is just use your heels to allow yourself to come up, and then at this point you can move the ball around to see if there's a spot that's maybe a little bit more intense for you. I like to start at one point, so you could start at the very top or you can start at the very bottom and work your way the opposite way, okay? And so just moving the ball around, using your heels, right, finding ease in your upper body, just moving the ball around, and then finding that spot that feels really, really intense. And then we're gonna externally rotate the right leg because we're on the right glute right now. So I'm gonna externally rotate the leg. So I'm gonna move knee and foot. So I'm coming to the outer edge of the foot. So I'm tilting them both at the same time and then pulling it back up. And so here you can relax, you can soften, you can even extend your left leg out. So you don't have to be on your left leg. And again, extend it out, come back up. Okay, so just find that spot, and then you can just do this external rotation, knee falls to the side and then back up, and then you want to use your left heel to maneuver again. So all I'm doing is just rotating my hips just around in these nice little sways, these circular motions, just to allow the ball to go a little bit deeper. And then when I feel that I've hit the spot of intense, just a lot of like tension and pressure, and it feels almost painful, I want to sit there. That's the part that I want to work, right? And it's really hard to do that. So you may want to soften your blanket a little bit more, add more cushioning. You know, also too, what you could do is, you know, come onto your left hip just a little bit. If it seems too intense, you can come onto your left hip. You can also place your hand underneath your left hip just to give yourself a little bit of elevation. So there's different mechanisms you can try here, okay? You just want to, like I said, keep that neutral alignment with your spine. And so I'm just going to keep up on my heels here and just keep my hips up just a little bit. Breathe, find the area, just work myself around, just little teeny tiny increments. So I'm just moving around a little teeny bit. I'm just going in these little tiny rotations and then dwindling down. So I'm starting at the top and then dwindling down. And what you could do is just move around, move the ball. You don't necessarily have to move your body, okay? And then find the spot that seems just so tense. And then that's where you're going to want to stop, maybe sink into it, or you can just allow a little bit more pressure by just loosening up your left side, so you're not going to press into your heel as much. Maybe don't press a little bit less each time. Externally rotate the right leg and then lift back up. And when we externally rotate that right leg, we're using that glute along with the abductors. We're using the muscle to open the leg up, so it's going to firm just a little bit, okay? And so again, moving around, just finding the area, just moving, swaying side to side, maybe pressing a little bit less once you find a new spot into your left heel, allowing gravity just to sink down And remember, always focusing on your breath. Always come back to the breath. And not losing touch with the fact that, you know, your oxygen you're breathing is kind of like the messenger. It's allowing your body and mind connection. So your body knows it's safe and it's okay to relax when your mind tells it that it's okay, right? And so if we stay mentally stiff in our minds, then our bodies will stay stiff too. And so we want to relax. And then, you know, again, you can roll towards the outside, so you can bring the ball to the outside a little bit and then maybe rotate the hips up a little bit on the left side. And same thing, you're just moving the ball around, that's all. It's just moving the ball around here. Just swaying it around, feeling those areas, pressing into the left heel, maybe pressing into the right heel, maybe externally rotating the leg when you feel that space of tension. So I'm just externally rotating. Remember, knee and foot follow each other, so they both move together. Externally rotating my right leg from the hip socket. Just rotating, allowing that muscle, that ball just to dig a little bit deeper into the muscle. And then I'm going to take a deep breath, exhale, and as I exhale, I sink, pressing a little bit less off my left leg, allowing my body to surrender a little bit deeper into the ball. So it could be really, really intense. So any who do this, I would say, you know, for a little while, all the way up and down the glutes. So make sure you go all the way up, all the way down. You can go onto the side too as well. This takes time. The glute muscle is really big. You know, it's not long, but it's really big. So you have to hit a pretty good amount of surface area. And, you know, this ball hits just a little, it's just pinpointing a little small portion. So you want to make sure you roll around into each little area. So it does take time. Okay, so that's a pretty intense way. Let's go into one more way. I'm going to show you now. You want to have your little table or whatever you're going to use. You're going to get close to it, or you can move it close to you. So I'm going to move my table right next to me. Calves are going to go on top of here. Okay, so I'm going to place my blanket and my bum is going to go close to here. I'm going to place my blanket with my ball where my right bum is going to go. Okay, so I'm going to sit to the side. My ball's off to the side. I'm not going to put it under there yet. I'm going to align myself, place my calves on top of the bench or whatever you're using, table, whatever you're going to use. I'm pulling back just a little bit, and then place the ball. So lift your hips by pressing into the bench or table, whatever you're using, to lift the hips up, and then place the ball again underneath this right glute. So you can bring it a little bit closer to the sacrum. Remember, you got to go out and in. So we want to get really close, just don't go over the bone. And so what this does by having the leg straight up like this, it just puts a little bit more pressure. But also too, it's just not 100% pressure because you have control by using your calves. If you don't have, you know, a table or anything to use, you can also use a wall and just put your feet up on the wall and then press into the wall. That's going to activate a little bit more into your hamstrings, but that's okay. That's not a big deal. Just something to be able to leverage to lift the hips up, okay? So ball's going to go into, same thing, just into my glute. And all I'm going to do is just rotate. So I'm pressing into my calves, I'm flexing my feet just because it feels good, and I'm just rotating side to side. Again, I tuck my shoulder blades, pull my shoulders down. I'm pressing into my triceps and my elbow area, so I'm pushing with my upper body, but it's staying nice and elongated and nice and soft too. So I'm not just, okay, and I'm just allowing my calves to kind of help move me around. And then when I'm ready, I can take a deep breath and then just let myself just sink down onto it, okay? So my legs are going to put, being above me like this, they're going to put just that much more tension onto the ball, okay? And again, what you could do is externally rotate from here, the ball into this area. Now, I feel it pretty dramatically from this versus the last one, and it's just, like I said, it's a micro hair difference of what we did, but it's really, really intense, you know? And so same thing, I'm just rolling side to side, moving in these little circular motions. What we don't want is tension down there, so you have to find a position where you can breathe into it and allow yourself to relax and surrender into the ball, and then just move around a little bit, because the ball will break up those tissues, those tensions, those knots, those tightnesses are not allowing that muscle to activate, okay? So just moving around into it, same thing. You can move your body up a little bit higher, and then of course, you know, extend your legs out a little bit further, and that way then you can get a little bit lower onto the glute. So same thing. So this is how you do it with your feet elevated up, okay? Like I said, you can use a wall as well. This is really intense. It takes time. I suggest going through each one. If you only have, you know, this lacrosse ball, you can start with the lacrosse ball and just, you know, you're gonna have to rely on your upper body to hold you up a little bit more and your heels to hold you up a little bit higher. And then make sure that you have, of course, padding underneath, and start small and just do baby increments, okay? If you have a foam roller, do a foam roller, and then just allow yourself to put that pressure. Of course, that deep, you know, where you pull the leg up, use the figure 4 with it, that's gonna get it pretty good, just rolling side to side and just really focusing on the breath and letting gravity just take over and allowing you to, you know, sink into it. And I do suggest getting a ball though, if you can. Okay, so there's that. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do a couple of my favorite stretches now. So I'm gonna place that off to the side. I'm gonna move my blanket. Let's just lay back. So we're gonna come on our backs again, and then have your knees pointed up. Okay, and then again, tuck, do all your stuff. Pull your tailbone down so then your belly is nice and firm, and then we don't have a big dip right here in our lower back. And so I'm gonna have you lift your right knee up, keeping that keeping the right hip down, so don't let it come up. We wanna keep equal length in our torso here, okay? So just being careful, keep that alignment. And then cross that leg over top of your left leg. Go ahead and walk that left heel over towards the right side just a little bit. And then all I'm gonna do is let my right leg just kind of fall onto my left leg there. So my knees are kind of like right next to each other off to the side here, and my legs are touching, okay? And so deep inhale here, and then exhale, have you begin to lightly flex your feet and then pull your hips. So you're gonna pull your hips down. Your hips are pulling down as you lift and pull your knees into your chest, okay? I'm gonna feel a deep stretch here on my PIRIFORMIS, my Glute Max, my hip as well. You may even feel a little bit of tension in your hip flexor in the front here. So there's a lot going on here, but I want you to lift your hands, extend them around and then clasp them together around your left hamstring. So up in the knee area, right? Below the knee, not into the knee, but below the knee. Okay, and I'm just going to pull in. I'm going to keep my hips pulling down. So my hips are pulling down into the ground as I lift and pull my knees into my chest. Okay, you can begin to open the feet, the lower legs out to the side just a little bit more as you just continue to pull. Keep pulling your right hip down and then breathe. So I'm pulling with my arms, although I'm keeping my shoulders down and keeping my back into the ground. I'm not allowing everything to curl up. I'm not stiff like this, okay? So just keep pulling, keep breathing into those areas of tension. Now, this pose is called a Gomukhasana. It's cow pose, and so it's usually sitting, and we're gonna do that next, but laying down, it's a Supta Gomukhasana, and there's a whole hand, thing that we do, but right now we're just doing Gomukhasana legs. And this is just really nice. It stretches all the hips and everything, the glutes, depending on where you have it all placed, but it's wonderful. I love this pose. Okay, so that's one. We're going to change this just a little bit, and this is just a different variation. So it's kind of like Gomukhasana and also figure 4. Figure 4 is where we cross in the knees going out, right? We flex the foot. We did that when we were on the foam roller. This is going to be where we do that, and also we're doing it here in Gomukhasana, but we're just going to pull. So if you're in Gomukhasana with me, we're going to pull the leg out just a little bit, the right knee out just a little bit. Our right calf area, the middle of the calf, is pressing on our left thigh. Okay, so we're not quite a figure 4, not quite Gomukhasana, we're right here in the middle. Okay, and now I'm going to just weave my right hand in between the space here and then pull up. Same thing, I'm pulling my right hip down, pulling this left thigh up towards my, it's pretty intense, up towards my my chest. Keeping my hips touching the floor, so I'm not rolling here. I'm keeping my back nice and neutral, and then I'm not, tight and tense in my upper body, focusing on your alignment, finding ease here. You can flex your left foot, you can keep it relaxed down at the bottom. Right now we're just focusing on that right glute max, the right glute area. So keep pulling in, Keep the right hip pulling down. Keep the left hip pulling down as well. Deep inhale. Soften the face. Soften the jaw. Keep breathing. Keep the right foot flexed. You want to keep it flexed with the knee up like this. And then go ahead and relax your left foot to the floor, and your right leg can uncross. And so all you're doing here is stretching deep in this laying down position. So we're stretching our glute a little bit deeper. And everybody's body is different. So when you guys come into this position, you know, the Gomukhasana may work, and also to this cross figure 4 may work for you. So like I said, everybody's different. Everybody has tightness different in their body. So just note what works for you and stick with that. And you may, you know, different days you may feel different things. So you may go back to something that didn't work for you, and maybe it will work for you the next day. So just be open-minded, try different things, okay? So let's come up, and we're gonna come up to a seated pose, and we're gonna come into our Gomukhasana in the seated pose. So same thing, we're gonna come with our feet in front of us, our feet are on the floor. Let me move back so you guys can see. Feet are on the floor, feet are parallel to each other. I'm going to weave. I'm going to lift my left foot up and then weave it through. And so my knees pointed forward. My left heel is towards my right glute. Okay, both my sitting bones, my butt bones are planted into the ground. I'm not wobbling to one side. I'm not curved or anything. My back is nice and neutral. Everything is nice and neutral. My whole upper body, okay? And so now I'm going to take my right leg and then just cross it over top of my left leg. And so my knees are stacked here. Here, I'm going to grab my blanket. So you can grab your blanket, or if you have a block, you can grab a block, and I'm just going to roll it up and place it in between the knees here. Okay, so I'm just going to roll it up and just wedge it in between the knees. So my right foot is just out to the side. My heel's towards the butt, like on the side of the maybe hip area. And then same thing with my left heel. So you can bring it a little bit closer. Like I said, everybody's body is different. So if you bring your heels closer, it may go deeper into the glute for you. If you have it out to the side, maybe you notice it more. So like everybody's different. So try it out. You can either place your hands on your knee very gently. We're not going to press on the knee. We're just going to lightly set it there and just realign. So deep inhale here, creating length, lifting through the crown of the head, pressing through the sitting bones, lifting through each vertebrae, pulling up, maybe tipping our hip bones. So we're going to tip our pelvis forward here. Deep inhale. Exhale, sinking a little bit deeper into this forward, very subtle forward bend. Keeping our sitting bones sitting evenly on the floor, not lifting either of them. Deep inhale. Exhale, keeping the belly nice and firm. Maybe releasing the hands onto the floor, maybe grabbing your block. I'm going to show you how to do this. You can grab your block, place it down here. You can grab 2 blocks, maybe elevate a little bit higher. This is where we're going to rest our forehead on the floor. Hands, elbows point back. Relax the shoulders here. Keep tipping the pelvis, so it almost feels like I'm pushing my sitting bones into the floor and back. And then just deep inhale here, folding forward. And just breathing into this position, allowing the muscles to just open. And when you guys are ready, go ahead and you can remove your blocks if you have them. If you don't have blocks, just come on up, and then you can remove your little blanket or towel, whatever you use. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and lift our right leg up, place it in front of us. Now that was Gomukhasana seated pose. And of course, we didn't do the arms, that was just for the legs. So that's a really nice one. You can play around with it. That one gets really deep into my glutes. It feels really good to me. You know, there's different ways to do it, but hopefully it works for you. So now we're just going to move on from that, go to our final pose. And so what I want you to do is now just pull your left knee out to the side, just a little bit. So pulling it out to the right side, and then allow your heel to come forward. So your heel and your knee are in line with each other. Okay, you can flex your left foot if you want, or have it, you know, point to whatever you want to do with your left foot. Okay, so that's number one. Keep that right hip bones, or right sitting bone pressing into the floor. Make sure both of them are pressing evenly, so that then you can sit nice and straight, nice and erect. And I'm going to lift my right leg up and then place my heel on the inside, so on the thigh, the inner thigh. Okay, and just let your right knee just kind of hang out right there. Okay, I'm going to flex my left foot, or my right foot. I'm going to flex my right foot. And then what I'm going to do is just wrap. So I'm going to come to the inside of my elbow, the bend. I'm going to wrap that area around the outside of my right knee. Okay, so I'm going to come quad. Just wrap it around and just wrap it around the leg. And then I'm going to do the same thing, only I'm going to wrap my left arm around my foot, my flex foot, my right foot. And I'm going to go ahead and lift. So I'm going to bring this around the arch and I'm going to lift my leg straight up. And I'm going to bring my hands to hold. Maybe I can grab onto my wrist. And all I'm doing here is just lifting my leg straight up into my body. I'm going to pull my left heel into me just a little bit more, and then I'm just going to rotate back and forth here. So I'm just going to sway side to side. It's like a sawing board, right? I'm just sawing back and forth here, and I'm just pulling my leg up into my body, keeping my body nice and straight, making sure I'm pressing my shoulder blades into my body, into my back. And then just deep inhale, same thing, you're just sawing side to side here. Another option that you could do here is remain with your left. Your foot is against your left inner elbow. And I'm just going to lift my right arm, weave it underneath, and then just lift and pull my leg up. So I'm pulling the top of my calf up into my body. Same thing, I'm keeping my body nice and aligned, keeping this foot flexed so it's in line with my knee. Watch where your knee is pointed. Make sure your foot's pointed the same way. And the same thing's happening. This is cradle pose, okay? 2 variations of cradle pose. And this is the same thing. I'm just coming really deep, hitting this really crazy deep area of my glute max, deep into my piriformis. It's really getting deep into there, okay? So either the cradle position where both arms are wrapped, one's wrapped around the outer knee, right knee, one's wrapped around the arch of your right foot, and you're just clasping the hands. You can rock side to side, you can move your body side to side, whatever feels good for you. You may notice that you feel a little bit more over here, so you can move your body off to the left side just a little bit, okay? Or wrap, weaving that right hand through that space under the right leg, and then just grabbing onto maybe your wrist or your forearm, and same thing, pulling up, pressing shoulder blades into your back, lifting your chest up. Deep inhale here, and just try to find some ease here. And again, okay, I'm going to release. I'm going to hold my foot, that way then I can get my left arm out, very carefully set my leg down, okay? So there's a few stretches for you guys, a few ways to roll the glute out. I do recommend, of course I say this in every video, but I do recommend for you guys to get very deep in there, spend the time in there, really work in these areas that are just really, really hard to loosen up, that feel really, really uncomfortable. Don't hurt yourself. I don't want you to hurt yourself, but get into a good position where you can support yourself, and then allow your body just to find surrender into these positions. So it'll open up, because when we tell our body that it's safe, right, then our body will relax. And so it's really, really important. Keep breathing, keep going, keep going. Just be patient and know that, it's going to take time. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. Don't expect something to change overnight. Just put the effort, put the time, find some time to do it. Even if you just take 5 minutes to do something, that's fine. If you have to break it up throughout the day, if you can only do it maybe like a couple times, in the week, that's fine. And just spend some time with it wherever you can, okay? You're going to notice a huge difference. And as far as, if you want to know how long, I would suggest to spend time on your glutes, on rolling it, spend a couple minutes just to break it down. And then if you have the lacrosse ball, deep tissue, really deep tissue, get in there with a lacrosse ball, spend, at least 5 minutes on one glute, just rolling, hitting all the areas. Don't stop until you get it all, okay, if possible. And then the stretches, at least stay a few minutes if you can, maybe a couple minutes longer, that's fine too. Just make sure that you're not in a, compromised position where other body parts are gonna compensate and maybe stress if you're not supporting yourself. So just make sure you're nicely supported and your whole body is in a pretty decent alignment, so then you don't hurt yourself, okay? And yeah, so I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys enjoy those stretches, and you just watch out for my other videos and make sure that you balance the entire hip. So make sure that you go to the the abductors, the adductors, if I have videos for that. And then also too, not just stretching, but also strengthening it. So if you stretch and strengthen all these areas, you'll notice a huge dramatic change with your posture. This is the center of our body, right? Our support system. And so if this is messed up, then the rest of our body is going to be compensated. We're going to see rolled spines. We're going to have problems in our knees, right? If our glutes are not strong, if they're weak, our knees are going to collapse to the inside, right? Because they're not active. So we're going to have knee problems. We're going to have arching backs, back problems. We don't want that. So just find the time to, you know, sit and work with this if you can, okay? And hit all the areas. All right, you guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for all my videos, and I will see you guys next time. Namaste.